this section will be an advanced tutorial on for loops and how they actually work in the background, as well as some other cool things you can do with them that will be useful for you. So here I am in my basic for loops file with a for loop that prints out the numbers from 0 to 9. There. So what's happening here is I'm saying for I in range 10, and then printing I. So you may have guessed, made the connection here that I is counting up from 0 to 10. And we can change the name of this. We'll say for index in range 10. Print index. And you can name it anything you want. You could name this variable Carl, and Python doesn't care. It will keep track of Carl and raise Carl from 0 through 9. But that's not the useful thing I wanted to show you right now. The reason we call it index is because, as I talked about in strings before, each of those string values has an index number associated with it. So if we have a string, like, I'll just use Carl or Carlos. A little bit longer. I like that. And then in our for loop, say we wanted to print out each one of those letters individually, one at a time. We could set up a for loop to do that by getting the length of the name that we give it. And then instead of printing index, we'll print name position index. So what this function is doing now is len is short for length. It gets the length of whatever thing you put into it, which in this case is name, and that's Carlos. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And then the range function just makes the index count through those. A lot of functions happening on the same line right here, but the end result is that it will print out Carlos for us, one letter at a time. And you won't be having to print individual letters all the time. Usually you'll have some big list of like game objects that you need to update, and so you'll just be looping through those in a for loop. But there's still a few sort of mysterious things here, and there's actually an easier way to do this. This, if you would actually know Python, is overcomplicating the issue we have. So if I comment that out, or accidentally delete it all, Command or Control 3 to comment that out. If we want to print out all the letters individually, we can do a different type of for loop. We'll say for letter in name, print letter. And again, this letter variable, you could name it I, you could name it J, you could name it Bob or Carlos, but that would make your program confusing. So don't do that. But for letter in name, print letter. And I will let that print out, and it'll do the same thing. There we go. You might also do for line in program, or line in file, or for character in game list, or whatever you have. But this is shining light on that our for loop is actually just taking some list of things and going through it one thing at a time, which is different from the way other for loops work in, say, Java. And that actually shows us, I can show you what the range function is actually doing, because range is kind of a weird name. If I go into my shell here and do the range function, range 10, it gives us a list of numbers between 0 and 10. You can do that again with 100, and this gives us a bigger list of numbers. And so what our for loop is when we're doing for index in range is letting that range function make a list, and then the for loop is going through each thing in that list one at a time, which happen to be numbers.